Si vous êtes passé devant une station-service ce matin et que vous avez remarqué une légère hausse des prix, de 10 ou 20 centimes, prenez une photo. Immortalisez l'instant, car dans 48 heures, vous repenserez à ce prix et vous regretterez de ne pas pouvoir le payer. Vous assistez à quelque chose d'inédit. Si vous regardez les images en direct du corridor d'étroite Windsor, si vous regardez les images satellites des Grands Lacs, cela ne ressemble pas à de la diplomatie entre deux alliés. Cela ne ressemble pas à un différend commercial. Cela ressemble à une rupture, à une prise d'otage. Pour la première fois dans l'histoire moderne, le président des États-Unis n'a pas les clés de la situation. Donald Trump pensait pouvoir imposer un meilleur accord par la force. Il pensait pouvoir bloquer physiquement un axe commercial majeur de 9 milliards de dollars, le pont international Gordie Howe, et contraindre le Canada à céder. C'était une manœuvre d'intimidation classique, bruyante, agressive. Conçue pour les caméras, il voulait projeter une image de la puissance américaine. Mais il a commis une erreur de calcul, une erreur fatale. Il a oublié qui remplit les réservoirs d'essence dans le Michigan. Il a oublié qui fournit l'électricité à New York. York? He forgot that the jet fuel at O'Hare Airport doesn't come from Texas. It comes from Alberta. Mark Carney didn't scream. He didn't go on television and threaten fire and fury. He didn't rage tweet at 3:12 a.m. He just made a single quiet technocratic adjustment to a pipeline schedule, a paperwork change, and now the entire American Midwest is staring down the barrel of an energy crisis that could triple your gas prices before the weekend is over. We are going to walk through exactly what happened in the last 24 hours. We are going to show you why the White House is currently in a state of absolute behind-the-scenes panic, and why this specific move by Canada marks the end of the American era as you know it. This isn't just about gas. This is about power. And for the first time, the power has shifted north. To understand why your wallet is about to take a hit, you have to understand the trigger. You have to go back to yesterday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is when Donald Trump signed the executive order. The text of the order was leaked almost immediately. It called for an immediate national security halt on the final operational clearance for the Gordie Howe International Bridge. Now, if you don't live in Detroit, you might not realize what this bridge is. This isn't just a way to get across a river. This is the single most important piece of infrastructure in the North American economy. It is the $9 billion lifeline that was supposed to fix the supply chain. It is the redundancy plan for the entire auto industry. Trump's justification was pure politics. He claimed Canada wasn't doing enough to screen cargo for illicit goods and unfair Chinese components leaking into the U.S. market. But let's be real, this wasn't about cargo. This was about leverage. He sent federal agents to physically block the access ramps on the Detroit side. He ordered concrete barriers placed on the highway. He wanted a spectacle. He wanted to show his base that he controls the border, that he controls who enters the fortress of America. It was a move designed to choke Canada's economy. The plan was simple. Block the bridge, cause a panic in Ontario, destroy the Canadian manufacturing sector for a week, and force Prime Minister Mark Carney to fly to Washington, hat in hand, to beg for the bridge to open. Trump wanted a photo op of a surrender. He wanted to look like the victor, but he didn't get a surrender. He got silence. For 6 hours, Ottawa said nothing. The Prime Minister's office went dark. No press conference, no angry statement from the foreign minister, no retaliatory tariffs announced. The news networks in the U.S. were confused. They were expecting noise. They were expecting a fight. Then at 8:00 p.m., the ground shifted. Ground sensors on the Enbridge Line 5 and Line 78 pipelines. These are the massive steel veins that carry heavy Canadian crude oil under the Great Lakes and into the refineries of Toledo, Detroit, and Sarnia started to flash red. The flow rate didn't stop. Stopping the flow completely would be an act of war. It would violate treaties that go back decades. Carney is too smart for that. Instead, the flow slowed down drastically. Canada announced an emergency integrity audit of all cross-border energy infrastructure. The official statement from Ottawa was masterful. It cited grave concerns over American border stability and the need to ensure critical infrastructure is protected from civil unrest. Do you see what they did there? They used Trump's own chaos as the excuse. They said effectively, since you are disrupting the border, we have to check the safety of our pipes. The result, The crude oil that American refineries need to make gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel is currently stuck north of the 49th parallel. Trump blocked a bridge for trucks. Carney blocked the fuel that makes those trucks move. You might be thinking, can they actually do this? Is this legal? Let's look at the receipts because the numbers don't lie, even if the politicians do. We pulled the data from the Energy Information Administration. Look at the Midwest's dependency on Canadian oil. It is staggering. It's not 10%. It's not 20%. In states like Ohio and Michigan, nearly 70% of the crude oil entering their refineries comes from Canada. These refineries are specialized. They are built for heavy Canadian crude. It's a chemical reality. You cannot just switch them to Texas light sweet oil overnight. You can't just bring in a tanker from Saudi Arabia to Detroit. The geography doesn't work. The pipelines are the only way. When that flow drops, the refineries have to slow down production immediately. They have to ration their inventory. We have footage from the Ambassador Bridge this morning, shot by a drone at 6 God. You need to see this to understand the scale. The line of trucks is 14 miles long. That isn't just traffic. That is an economic heart attack. Those trucks are carrying food. They are carrying medicine. They are carrying the just-in-time parts that Ford and GM need to build cars. Trump's blockade of the new bridge has spooked the logistics companies. They are terrified of getting stuck. They are canceling routes. The cost to ship a container from Toronto to Chicago doubled overnight. That is inflation instant and unavoidable being injected directly into the American economy by the president's own pen. And the markets know it. Wall Street reacts faster than voters. The moment the news of the integrity audit hit the wire, the futures market for RB gasoline went vertical. It didn't just tick up, it spiked. Traders know what this means. They know that inventory levels in the Midwest are already historically low because of the season. If this audit lasts 3 days, you are going to see a 50C hike at the pump. If it lasts 2 weeks, you are looking at shortages. You are looking at out-of-gas signs in Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. You are looking at rationing. And here is the smoking gun. We obtained a leaked memo from the Department of Energy to the White House, dated late last night. The subject line reads, "Critical vulnerability, Midwest fuel supply." The memo explicitly warns the president. It says, and I quote, "Canada possesses the leverage to induce a regional energy shock within 48 hours. We do not have the strategic reserves in place to counter a supply throttle of this magnitude." They knew. Trump's own experts told him. They warned him that Canada had a kill switch. He did it anyway. He thought Canada was a vassal state. He thought he could turn the screws and Canada would just say sorry. But you are watching a different Canada now. You are watching a country that realizes it is sitting on the lifeblood of the American economy and it just decided to squeeze the vein. This brings us to the man in the middle, the man who isn't blinking, Mark Carney. You have to understand the difference in psychology here. Trump operates on a theory of dominance. He believes that because the U.S. economy is 10 times the size of Canada's, he holds all the cards in a vacuum. He's right. But the real world isn't a vacuum. It's a complex, interconnected web. And Trump just took a pair of scissors to the part of the web that holds him up. Trump is losing control because the pain is asymmetric. Yes, Canada hurts when trade stops, but Canada hurts in the aggregate. The U.S. hurts in the swing states. Look at the map. Where are the refineries that are running dry right now? Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. These aren't just random states. These are the states that decide elections. These are the states Trump needs to hold his coalition together. By picking a fight with Canada, he didn't attack foreigners. He attacked the daily commute of his own voters. He is also losing control of the narrative. Usually, Trump thrives on chaos. He creates a problem, blames the other side, and then claims victory when he solves 10% of the problem he created. But this time, the cause and effect is too clear. He signed the order to block the bridge. The gas prices went up. He can try to blame Carney. He can try to blame the globalist agenda. He can tweet that Canada is being very unfair. But when a truck driver in Detroit can't fill up his rig, or when a nurse in Toledo is paying $9 a gallon, they don't care about the tweets. They care that the pump is empty. And notice the silence from the Republican governors in the North. They aren't backing the president. They are panicking. The governor of Ohio was on the phone with Ottawa this morning. Not the White House, Ottawa. That is a loss of control. When U.S. governors are bypassing the president to negotiate directly with a foreign leader because they view the foreign leader as the rational actor, that is a collapse of federal authority. Mark Carney knows this. If this were Justin Trudeau, we might be seeing an emotional appeal. We might be seeing talk of friendship and history. Carney doesn't do that. Carney is a central banker. He thinks in terms of risk, assets, liquidity, and leverage. He views political capital the same way he views financial capital. His move to audit the pipelines is brilliant because it is defensible. He didn't say, I am embargoing the United States. That's illegal under trade treaties. That breaks the USMCA. He said, we have safety concerns. How does Trump argue against safety? How does Trump argue against integrity checks? He can't. Carney used the bureaucracy as a weapon. He wrapped a chokehold in red tape. This is a totally different kind of fight. Trump is fighting a culture war. Carney is fighting an economic war. Trump wants to win the news cycle. Carney wants to re-prick the relationship by touching the energy sector. Carney is sending a message to the real power centers in America. He's not talking to the mega base. He's talking to Exxon. He's talking to GM. He's talking to the commodity traders in Chicago. He is forcing American business to call the White House and scream, fix this. Now, Carney knows that Trump can ignore a diplomat, but Trump cannot ignore a 20% drop in the stock market. And if the Midwest runs out of energy, the market will crash. This is what competence looks like in a crisis. It's cold. It's calculated. It's incredibly dangerous, but it is effective. Carney isn't trying to be liked by Trump. He is demonstrating that Canada is not a nice-to-have partner. Canada is a need-to-have partner. And if you disrespect the need, you lose the supply. Let's zoom out for a second, because even if this bridge opens tomorrow, even if the oil starts flowing again, something fundamental has broken. You are watching the end of the special relationship. For 70 years, the US and Canada were basically one economy with a line down the middle. We didn't worry about the border. We didn't worry about energy security from the north. It was just there. It was automatic. Trump has broken the automatic. And Carney is showing you the new reality. The new reality is that Canada is a sovereign nation that will use its resources as leverage. What does this mean for you? It means the era of cheap, reliable, invisible trade is over. If Canada decides to pivot, really pivot, away from the US, the cost of everything in your life goes up, not just gas, lumber for your house, aluminum for your car, fertilizer for the food you eat, potash, uranium, fresh water. Canada controls a massive percentage of the raw materials that build the American lifestyle. If they decide that the US is an unreliable partner, they will sell those resources to Europe. They will sell them to Japan. They will sell them to China. They will build the infrastructure to bypass America. And you will pay the risk premium every time you buy a 24. Every time you fill up your tank, you will be paying for the instability that Washington created. This isn't just a trade dispute. This is a divorce proceeding, and in this divorce, Canada is the one with the bank account. The assumption that Canada will always be there, quiet and compliant, is the biggest strategic error of the Trump presidency. And you are watching the correction of that error play out in real time on the gas price sign down the street. So where does this go? We are in dangerous territory. There are 3 ways this plays out. Scenario A is the quiet fold. Trump realizes he stepped on a landmine. He can't admit he was wrong. He never does. So he'll declare victory over something irrelevant. Maybe he claims Canada agreed to new inspections or better lighting on the bridge. He quietly reopens the lanes. Carney finishes his audit and the oil flows. Prices stabilize, but the trust is gone. The damage is done. This is the most likely outcome, but it leaves Trump looking weaker than he has ever looked. Scenario B is escalation. Trump doubles down. He sees the gas prices rising, and his ego can't handle the humiliation. He seizes Canadian assets. He threatens 100% tariffs on everything. If he does this, Carney won't just slow the oil, he'll stop it. He will invoke force majeure. The Canadian dollar might take a hit, but the US economy goes into a recession immediately. This is the scorched earth scenario. Scenario C is the corporate coup. American CEOs, terrified of the disruption, force the Republican Senate to intervene. They threaten to withhold donations. They turn on Trump publicly. This would be the end of Trump's control over his own party. But here's the scary part. Leaders usually de-escalate. Leaders usually look for the off-ramp. Trump doesn't do off-ramps. And Carney has decided he's done being the nice guy. Oui, nous assistons à un jeu dangereux entre un fou au volant d'un semi-remorque et un technocrate qui contrôle les feux de circulation. Et là, tout est au rouge. C'est le nouveau monde. Plus brutal, plus cher et bien plus fragile. Trump a bloqué un pont pour montrer sa force. Au lieu de cela, il a exposé la faiblesse de l'Amérique. Il a montré au monde que, sans le Canada, le moteur américain commence à s'essouffler. Carney n'a pas déclenché ce conflit, mais il le termine. Et il le fait en s'attaquant à ce qui importe le plus à Trump, l'économie. La question que vous devez vous poser est la suivante. Pensez-vous que Mark Carney bluffe ou allons-nous voir à quoi ressemblera l'Amérique du Nord quand tout s'effondrera? Je veux savoir ce que vous en pensez. Est-ce une position nécessaire pour le Canada ou Carney joue-t-il avec le feu? Laissez un commentaire ci-dessous et abonnez-vous, car l'actualité évolue plus vite que les chaînes d'information ne peuvent la suivre, et vous devez savoir ce qui se passera quand les pompes seront à sec. À bientôt!